I'm going to call this week 5 of the JK, but in all reality, it's going to be done over a couple of weeks. As you can see, the XJ's still here because I'm finishing prepping that for the 24 Hours of Appalachia. But I'm kind of at a standstill until Dan gets here on it. So I'm going to start messing with this bumper. The winch came in, which is good. And I have these stubby caps here that are going to go on here, something like this. Or maybe like this. Yeah, like that. So you pretty much, I guess, are going to just trim it. I don't know, right here maybe. Over. I'm assuming it's got some measurements to take. And they'll eliminate all of this here. So, I'm going to do that, clean up the plastic, get that done. And then I'll probably bring the JK down here and figure out, get the winch. Winch came in, by the way. So get the winch mounted up on that thing. And then figure out how the fair lead's going to punch through here. And I can work on trying to mount that thing up. So let me get started on these caps. Alright, I got these caps put on. They weren't too bad. Just trimmed about 11 inches off each side here. See what we knocked off of there. And then they just kind of go on and make a nice little stubby end to it. I get the whole thing in there. So I guess what I did too is I took some clear caulk, sealed this up, and kind of glued them on too. So next up, I guess I need to flip this here, test fit the metal inner bumper piece here, make sure that still fits. It doesn't need any trimming. So I have a feeling that's going to need trim down too. I mean, you can see where these are. So we'll just verify that and then whack off what we don't need with the grinder and try to work on getting this installed then. Probably bring the JK down here and sort of mock it up on there. So let me get this thing modified here and we'll keep going. Okay. All right, I did have to trim this. So it's trimmed down and then I shot it in just a little bit of black spray paint so it looks nice. Letting this guy dry, and then I'm going to bolt it all together with the new recovery hooks on there, and probably pull the JK down here behind Dan's Jeep, and then I can start mocking up the winch plate. So I'm going to go up and get the JK and bring it down here. Well, I got this all mocked up. I'll show you what it looks like on there once I get the winch plate back off. I see why nobody does this style bumper with a winch. Basically, if you look here, the winch sits in there fine, but this hangs down here, which is where the bumper has to occupy. Height-wise, I mean, you really only have to trim out. Well, you'd end up cutting a pretty big section. And I don't know that I'm willing to do that, honestly. I can probably build a really nice receiver mount to go from here to here and put a receiver right here and then receiver mount a winch, which is what we did on Dan's, or Dan did on his. Because the problem is all this here, pretty much from here over, would have to get cut out. And then down here, all of this bottom would have to get cut out. And that leaves like no structure to the actual bumper. So I think instead what I'm going to do, and this winch tray is fine, I'll use this for some extra parts, is I think I'm going to just take, not now, I'm going to get the bumper on so we can drive it, but I'm going to take a piece of probably box and make tabs off of this that goes over to here, and then have a piece of box that comes in and a receiver in the center, and then the winch can just literally bolt right to that. I'll set this winch up with the control box and everything up top here and have it on a receiver. Then I can use it on my Dodge too, so that's not a big deal. So I'm gonna go get this pack back away for now, and take that back off, and then I'm gonna button up at least putting this front bumper on. So it was a nice shot. I see why there's really not any good write-ups on it online. So I'll try to post this so everybody learns from my mistakes. I mean, not a big deal. Like I said, what I'll end up with kind of look like what Dan's got going on here. His is a little bit different. He had a little bit better real estate, but if you see how he took a piece of square tube across here, I'll kind of end up with the same thing. And then a winch mount, and then Harbor Freight actually sells those cradles. And I may build one, adapt one a little differently. Because what I kind of want to do on this thing, when I do that, is have a bar. I'm not looking for something very big. Just a bar to come up and run 2 additional fog lights here. Because if we do run this thing in any of the rallies, I mean, we're gonna want that. I mean, a Rubicon bumper would fix that, especially with the stubby conversion. But I like the way this looks, and a receiver mount coming out, right here would look fine. So I think that's what we'll plan on figuring out how to do then. But for right now, I'm going to get the fog lights back in, get that taken all back off, and then get it back together with the bumper on. All right, I'm back from the Seneca Rocks rally, and XJ did us good. It took us to a sixth place finish out of, 90 full-size rigs, so I'm happy with that. So I'm back here. I'm going to get working on the XJ. The JK. Jeez, I'm telling you, my brain is just not there yet. It's trying to get back into this. So I'm going to get working on the JK. A lot of stuff to do before Roush Creek in a couple weeks. Roush Creek is the beginning of May, so it's like 5 weeks from now. I got to get a receiver mount for the winch. Dan gave me some tubing that he had left over. I have a receiver tube, so I'll get that welded in. Front locker needs fixed, replaced. So I got 2 new carrier bearings. Obviously, a new locker. Gonna run a helical. And then we've got the Barnes aluminum 1-ton crossover steering kit. That's to replace the absolutely thrashed steering that's on this thing. So we're going to do that, and then alignment, and then we've got what's left on this list here. The biggest annoyance out of this list that I noticed, and I noticed it by accident, I was just moving this thing around my property, is this transfer case shifter is foobarred. So there, and something's just thrashed with the thing. Thinking probably the cable, honestly, if I had to guess. Hard to say. But I'm going to get this thing on the lift. Let's get it up in the air, get the tires off of it. Start pulling apart that whole front axle again. Yank it all apart, and I don't know. Let's go from there. I want to get this thing on the road and some road miles on it. So let's get started. Yeah, tell me this locker isn't messed up. Ay. That's locked. Okay, wait. Oh, that's ratcheting. Except, ratchet that way. Huh. Awesome. Let's get this thing out and see what it looks like. It's gonna be trashed. Hopefully it didn't ruin my gears. So it's apart. Axles are out. Don't really see anything too terrible with it. It's just not ratcheting, which we're gonna fix with a helical. That'll hopefully work better. I also didn't see anything really too terrible come out of it. Some gear marking compound, a little bit of metal, but it got backed up the driveway and pulled out, so hopefully it really doesn't mean anything. So now zip the carrier bearing retainers out. I'm gonna grab my other table to lay all this stuff out on so we don't get everything all mixed up. So I have a little bit more room. And then pop all this stuff out and lay it out. So right now I've got it on my cart, but I'm gonna lay it all out on the actual table and not use my welding cart to do this. So let me get that going and then zip that carrier out. And then I think, well, I'll pick up the video then. All right. So it's out, it's apart. I got the bearings pulled off of it. I don't know why I pulled the bearings off. Because I'm looking at it now and there was no shims behind the bearings. Because it uses these. Those are your those are your shims. So Dan had made setup bearings, which I'm gonna roll with real quick. Just to make sure that everything works out with it. Which they are the same for the JK, so yeah, it's been a while since I've done a Dana 30, really. So I'm gonna put the ring gear on here, use the setup bearings, and I guess just run a pattern and a backlash check real quick. And if everything comes out good, then I think I'll roll with that. So I'm gonna clean the marking compound here off of the ring gear. Get that cleaned off over here in the parts washer and clean that up. And then start putting this thing together to check it. All right, just torqued all these bolts. This is a Spartan locker. Check these if you're ever putting one of these in. Because they were all, I don't know, half of them were torqued to 35 foot-pounds and the other half were loose-ish. So I retorqued them all. I'm debating if I should take them out and put Loctite on them one by one. I might actually do that and just re-put them in. Then I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, actually I'm probably going to just do that while I'm thinking about it. No sense in chancing it, so I'll probably get that done. We gotta check that. So I'm gonna pop these out, throw some Loctite on them, put them back in, and then put the setup bearings in there and stick it in, and let's check our backlash. Well, I'm gonna admit, I've been working on things down here and not filming it. It was a busy, sporadic week, so I got a little bit done, not a ton. And I really didn't feel like filming it because it was just sort of disorganized on my end to try to film it. But where are we at? The Spartan helical. There's JKs are different than a traditional Dana 30. They use these thicker shims that go here on the, like the race. If you've ever done these, rides here. Normally you shim on the inside of the pinion here. On a JK, you shim it like a 44, like a Dana 44, on the outside of your race. Which is cool, except this carrier, from talking to Spartan by design, is slightly wider. This flange here is a little thicker, so it's designed to carry the load and be able to take some power, basically, or some stress, compared to a stock Dana 30 373 and up carrier. I mean, you can see how thin that flange is. It changes some of this, but it is physically like 20 thou difference in the carrier width from bearing mount to bearing mount. So what that means is I don't have these factory shims won't even fit in. I'm like 40 thou too thick on these, and I've ordered a couple different shim kits. Spartan even sent me a shim kit with a bunch of these, and I'd have to use, I don't even, like 8 5 thou, and like it's just a whole ton of shims to stack up. And they sell a master kit with some of these real thick ones in here, which would be perfect. And that's what I'm going to order. But it's like 125 bucks. It comes with bearings and everything, and I just don't need it right now. I'm just going to run this thing with the open. So I took the lunchbox locker that I'd put in out, put the spiders back in. We're just going to run it open, but I needed a new set of bearings. The other ones were, I didn't really want to run the other ones. The cages were a little spread and they were worn. So I ordered a new set of bearings. So I'll press them on. They're supposed to be here a couple days. So I'll get them pressed on, throw the ring gear back in, and set this thing up and be done with that. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So I've got that sitting over here. I did mock the Barnes 1-ton aluminum steering setup up, which seems to be good. I need to do a cross-reference to make sure the toe is good, but right now the steering wheel's straight and the wheels appear to be pretty straight, so we can fine-tune all that then, which I'll do. That's not super high up on my list right now because it's not getting driven until the diff's back in. But what is high up on my list is building this receiver mount for the winch. So I have a piece of tube here. I have a tube receiver, bare steel, that will weld perfectly in right here to the thickness of the tube. And then I have some 1/2-inch plate or some 1/4-inch plate. So what we're going to do is take the bumper off. We're going to mount that brace so it indexes off of the inside of the frame rail here. Piece of tube crossed to over here. Just like the winch plates kind of work on these when you get those. And then this receiver tube will be welded into there with the pinhole up and down and go right through here basically. So all you'll see is just the front of that. I can put a cover on that and then the winch will slide right into that perfectly. We can bolt it from underneath with a bolt. I'll have no slop in it. And then, we'll do an Anderson plug, probably right out of this plastic piece here will be an Anderson plug. Plug the winch cradle in, and then I'm going to take a piece of plate back over top of these mounts to here. I got a piece of 1.25-inch tube that's going to come up, flatten out, and come back down, and we can mount some lights to it later. I'm not going to make that. I'm going to make these mounts, but I'm not going to make this tube until I get the winch cradle, because what I want is it to come up just over top of the winch in the cradle, wherever that height is. I don't want it to be too high so the lights aren't looking crazy. I'm not doing these lights to look cool or anything like that. They're solely for function. You get out onto a dark dirt road at night, you need good lights. So start by yanking that front bumper off now. Well, I'm going to start by cleaning my table off. I got some other goodies over here I'll go through as we go through later in the video. I'm going to clean my table off, yank the bumper off, and put that over there. Pull some measurements and make some cardboard templates of the brackets I need to make out of the 1/4-inch plate. And then we'll get started on that. So let's start by getting this bumper off. All right. So I made a template here, out of cardboard. So what that's going to be, can I do it with one hand? That's going to have an angle to it like that. I forgot I'm covering it like that. And the point of that is going to be they're going to go over those bolt holes and then sort of angle up around those fog lights. So you're unfortunately not going to be able to work on these fog lights unless you take the bumper off. But whatever. And that's going to angle it back here, inside of here like that. And then it'll bolt on. And then this tang here is what's going to weld onto the tube then. Probably something like that. Probably like that, really. And then I'll gusset here, along there, and then down to here, and sort of plate all this in. So it just becomes one really nice big tube. And then I'll trim this to length. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So it's going to sort of be what I'm going for here. I'm going to build most of this out of 1/4-inch plate. So I guess the next thing I'm going to do is trace this out on here, and I'll cut this first one out. And then I'll take it over there to the press brake and work on my bends. See how that turns out. So let's give that a shot. All right. First attempt at this. I marked it, so we're going to do a... I guess we're going for a 45-degree bend here and a 45-degree bend there. So if I come over here to my press brake, I'm going to not do this while I'm filming, but I'm going to line that up, put a 45-degree bend on this. I'll grab my little gauge here, try to get it as close as I can. Because, you know, we like to make nice stuff. And then we'll bend it back the other way 45 degrees. That's 45. And that'll give us a 90. And I didn't fail that part of math. And should be pretty good. So let's give it a shot here. All right. I guess I'm not bending 1/4-inch plate in my press brake. So I'm going to slit this side of it for a relief and then bend it. And if that works, then I'll slit this side. I'll slit this side. It should be good. So let's try that. All right. Got the first bend and just notched it for the second bend. So come over here and give that a shot now. All right. So it's bent. Now I'm going to drill these 2 holes. I'm going to center punch them and drill them. And make sure it's going to clear that, because if it's not, what I'm going to have to do is bend this to a 90. Bend this to a 90 to get enough, you know, back clearance to clear this light. So I like the 45. Everything's welded and gusseted. I think it's going to look nicer, you know, than just having that be at a straight 90. Plus it keeps that winch in there a little bit better, but I don't know. Let's give it a shot here and see what we get. All right, I had to go to 90s to clear. The 45s would have looked better, but wasn't gonna give me enough room to clear everything. This will clear the fog lights pretty nice. So, and these wires will hook to the top here and should be just fine. So that should sit in there, something like that. So, you know, it's going to be a lot of force on it, but I'll do my best. I'll do like a 45 gusset here, because that's all behind here. And then I'll do a 45 gusset on top here. I think what I'm going to do, I'll make like a 45 gusset that runs from here to here. You know, figure out a piece of cardboard and make a gusset like that kind of boxes the thing in. I would have cut this notch differently, but it would have worked out if it was at a 45. So I don't know. I'll figure that out. I'll probably maybe plate it in something like that would be nice too. And then cut it at an angle. I don't know. I'll figure that part out. That isn't that big of a deal. That's all, you know, over here where I got room. So, we can kind of test fit all that. So we'll gusset that real good. And then, like I said, it'll have real good gussets in here. Then all that force is going to want to shove it this way. So we'll gusset that to make that carry nice. Yeah. And then we'll have to figure out how we're going to brace this tube on there. So, but I think that'll be good. I mean, it's going to be, yeah, yanking that way. So this gusset will keep this piece from wanting to unfold and shove everything. And then we'll need one here to do the same thing. Yeah, I think that'll be, oh, we'll have to figure that out. All good. Probably should have left these wider, I guess. Probably wouldn't have been a bad idea to leave them wider. I could have gusseted them nicer. Maybe I'll do that on this one. And then I'll just take these pieces and weld them back on. I might do that. Leave this wider, and then I can always just come over here and trim it down once I get my gussets on. Terminated here real nice. That might be the better way to do it. Maybe that's what we'll do. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to zip this for now, put my bends in it, and figure that out. Then I'll take these pieces over here and weld them back in. Yeah, because I got them right here. Weld those back in, and then if I weld those back in like that, and then yeah, that might be the better way to do this. And then I can gusset everything nice and then neck it down after that. I should have plenty of room in my bandsaw to do that. So, all right, let's zip this straight line out then and go from there. All right, I gotta call it quits for the day, but I got both of these bent up. We're going to a friend's birthday party, but when I get back, probably tomorrow morning, I'll grind these all down, clean them up. I'll weld this in, weld this one back in, and then gusset everything. You know what I mean? Where we're working out here, that's going to be perfect. And that'll sit behind here. So now I can get actual full width gussets out here. So I'll just make a big plate, basically. I'll just trace this out on a piece like this. You know, so you get a straight piece here. That'll gusset it. You know, zip that across, make a template. That'll fit perfect on it, and then that'll be our nice little gusset. Yeah. Yep. So that should be nice and strong. And then once we do that, then I'll neck this down. After the gusset, I'll neck it down to the tube width, so it's the same on both sides. So to start, I guess tomorrow I'll grind this down and weld this, grind it all down nice and flat, and then go from there on it. Birthday party was good last night. Getting a late start though. I was out riding four-wheelers with Kinsey. So I'm gonna get it cleaned up here a little bit, put some of this stuff away. I keep my templates down here out of the way for now, and then break the welder out, tack these guys together, weld this up, and then get some of this stuff prepped to get going on it. So start by cleaning up here. Shouldn't have left my Sharpie out last night either. Now it's dry. Wonderful. That was my new one. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All good though. Let's get cleaned up and get started on this. All right, that's all welded up. Letting that cool, and then I'm gonna hit it with the grinder. And then I got these guys welded together so I can take them over to the table grinder and make them all perfect. So I think the next thing I'm gonna work on is I have this carrier here. I think I'm gonna use the setup bearings, you know, and just check them with the setup bearings. Check my shims. I mean, this was the factory one, so it should go right back in without any issues. But just check them, make sure I got the right shims for that. Probably put it in, run a pattern, make sure it looks good. And then, actually, I'll probably just, you know what, actually, before I do that, I think I'm going to check the alignment. I'll just do that, because then I can set the bar, torque everything down, just zip the bar off, and throw that out of the way for right now. And then once I get this new bearings pressed onto that carrier, it's good to go. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my Gry-Align tool, which I can't film while I'm doing this for you, but we have the Gry-Align. And I'm pretty sure I can make this work, because it just uses reference points. So we'll hit the wheels in the back for a straight reference, and then I'll come up here and try it right on the knuckles and see where we're at, and kind of go from there. So we'll move this out of the way, and then let's see where we're at with the alignment. So I just finished using the Gry Align tool, and I got it all where it says it's straight. Obviously, I can't go take it down the road right now to check it all, but I think we're good. You know, steering wheel's facing the right way now. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten all them down, just lock them down. I got to figure the caster out. Probably going to want to add a little bit more caster to this thing. I'm pretty much running it all flat right now. It might be 5 degrees on that pinion angle, but see, I don't know what these are set for from the factory. Kind of looks like it might be, I think, positive caster, and I want to be negative if I'm remembering right. So, we'll check all that once I get the wheels on it, but, because that would be Death Wobble City there. So, I guess I'm going to lock them nuts down and then grind these down. Then I'll lift it back up. Something else that I'm fighting, and I don't know what's going on with this. This transfer case is just shifting like dog poop. So the shifter broke again. I was playing with it here. There's just nothing on it. I mean, and the cable, the linkage is not bound up. It's almost like it's in the transfer case. So, I don't know. I'm going to go look at it, make sure something's not binding on the linkage or the linkage isn't bent on the actual transfer case. That was my next thought, is because everything was in and out, and maybe I bent the shift linkage and didn't even realize it. So I'm going to check all that out. And then if not, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be an internal issue with the transfer case. I haven't really tried four-wheel drive in it yet. That would suck. So, I don't know. I'm going to lock all these nuts down and then get grinding on this stuff. All right, I got everything ground down. I made these all exactly the same, so they're perfect for that. So now I'm going to tack everything in, check it to make sure it stays square, and then I'm going to weld everything. And then probably let it cool and grind it all down so it looks, you know, like we paid some decent money for a piece. I kind of go from there then. It's looking good though. I'm liking it. I think till I get everything burned in, it's going to be really nice. So let's get these gussets burned in. We got to fill these in. Let's get everything sort of done here on it. I was also working on this. I got the gear in here. I got to check backlash and run a pattern, but that feels like 6 thou, which is what we were going for. It's spec on Dana gears in these. So. And then I got this crossbar line, took that off, put it over there for now. This one's all torqued in, tightened down. So that one's good to go. The only other thing I really need to figure out is a steering stabilizer. I got to order one of them. I'm going to wait on that for a little bit. So we should be able to drive it without one, just no highway. And then I got to get this cover cleaned up and ready to be RTV'd on here. So I popped this connector or the linkage back on. Nothing looks messed up on this shifter up there. I mean, you can't really see it, I guess. You kind of can. Anyways, nothing looks really messed up on it, so I'm not sure. I'm wondering if these things just don't shift smooth when they're not running, maybe? I don't know. It shouldn't really matter, I wouldn't think. So I'm going to at least get it running and run it up and down the driveway and see if I can get it to loosen up. If not, I guess I'm stuck with something wrong with that transfer case. I mean, the fluid wasn't great looking that came out, but there was no metal. It didn't look destroyed. So it's a little odd, but I don't know. I mean, maybe this guy's got problems with it, or hard to say. So let's get it running at least. I mean, my wife can at least drive it. If it's not able to be off-roaded, at least she can drive the thing. So let's get welding on this stuff. All welded. And they're toasty warm. You could cook a marshmallow on them. So I'm going to let them cool, and then I'm going to just rip a grinder over them, clean them up, Make them look nice. I'm not, going to try to make them look perfect, but we'll clean them up a little bit once they cool, but they are hot, hot, hot. So roll this thing out of the way. Slap them over here. And then I'm going to go up and grab something to drink from up in the house. Probably come back down, check this, run a pattern. And then, I don't know. I'd like to hopefully my nuts for this show up and I can get this heat shield back up in here and start putting the muffler and stuff back together. Get my clamp on this guy. And I'll check my checklist. There's a exhaust pipe missing, oops, right here. And then this one here needs tightened up. I gotta pull this cross member off again once I get it all down on the ground. Its drive shaft is hitting right here, and this needs clearanced, so at full droop. So, can't quite get that off the way I have it jacked up here. Well, I might be able to. I guess it is good. So maybe we'll pull that off. I have it kind of marked and get that clearance so we can get that up in there. And then, yeah. I don't know, it's coming along. I got a couple hours yet I can spend down here today. Trying to get this all done so we can get the trailer in here, replace the wheel bearings on that, and then my wife bought one of them golf carts for camping. So, yeah, I'm gonna grab something to drink and then come back down here and set these gears. So I got these ground down and clamped up here. I like them. So basically what I figured out was I have 22 inches from here to here, and I want some of that tube to bear on where this angle is, because obviously I'm having to angle out of the way of the bolt mounts here. And when you're winching, because you're stuck, you don't want to bend any of this stuff, so you want it braced nice. And the fog lights are going to pocket in here, so I can't really gusset much more than what I did here. So basically that bar is going to mount behind here, so you're pulling loads just trying to yank all this through the bumper. So it's going to really index on these bumper mounts here, which they're welded on there pretty decent. I'm debating if I should go, when I get this all done, and add another mount. There's some holes here, like back here. I could put a mount to it somehow, probably, and throw another mount in. The factory winch plate that you add to this kind of does the same thing, though. It just comes off of these horns here. And I thought about going on front, but then you're putting all that load on the bolts. This is sort of catching it with the plate here. So, I don't know. It's heavy, but it's not like a competition rig or something. See, in the factory one, it uses a piece that comes in right here, if you see, and you bolt into that, which was kind of, I could probably make something like that. It'd be a little weird to get these bolted in then. I just don't know if you need it or not either, you're kind of, I don't know, you're kind of held captive with all this stuff. It's all kind of one big cohesive piece. I don't know. I guess you could still tear it out. Well, anyways, for this exact moment, I'm going to get two 19 3/4 inch pieces of tube cut. That'll allow me to leave space for a center here. And then I got to measure, I guess, to get that in. If I got to do a whole bunch of math, but figure that out. And I'm not 100%. I'm hoping this is even thick enough would be my next problem, you know what I mean? Because we need to come through the front there. And if it's not, I'm going to have to plate and extend this, which I can do. This tube here is literally exactly the same stuff, so we can plate it on all the corners and extend it. It's just one more spot for a failure I really didn't want to have to worry about. Because the problem is, if you look here, I think we're getting real close to not having enough room. So we'll do some math here and figure out what our through the middle measurement is on that in our center line, but I think we're going to have to extend it in. You know, it is what it is. So, I guess let's start by, we'll get 2 of these cut to 9 3/4, and then I can clamp them on here, leave my space, and figure out some math on this then. Figure out what all that works out to. So let's do that and see where we're at. Real quick, I just wanted to show you, checking this backlash here. So we're zeroed out. 6 0 6 0. That's beautiful. So I'm gonna paint it up, run a pattern real quick and check it, but I think we're good. If that's the case, I'm just gonna leave this in here and slap the cover on just to keep the dust out of it. And then lower this thing back down and work on the bumper for right now. But yeah, just wanted to interrupt and show you that. All right, I ran my pattern. I'll show you guys that. I think that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Then I cut these out, 9 3/4 on either side. Made a little 2-inch spacer there. And then what I'm gonna do is I'll weld all this fully and then grind it down and do a 45 gusset here in the middle on either side, and then plate this whole thing, and they'll have 45s here. And then I'll probably make a plate here and here just to carry that load all really nice through that center section here, because there's nothing kind of in the way. Because then, I mean, it should be fine. And then I'll strap the back here and weld that too, where I'm doing that. So that should make it just, I mean, as strong as I'm going to be able to make it, I'll put it that way. So yeah, that's working out. I'll probably 45 these just to make it look nice when it's all installed and give a little bit more room back here for where you got to get in and tighten these bolts up here. I mean, if that's 45 up there, oops, that would be nice. So I'll probably do that too. But I think for right now, what I'm going to do is just throw some tacks on here to hold this together, and probably throw a tack here that I can grind off, and a tack here. And then I can clamp this up here and figure out what I'm doing with that. If it all looks good and straight and I like it, I can Sharpie where I need to trim the plates down so it all matches nice. And then I'll mark my holes I need to drill. And then I'll start screwing with this. So I'm going to throw that cover on there for right now so I don't get any dirt in there. And then I'll probably, actually, before I lower it down, I'll probably just grab that mount off of there that needs trimmed. And then bust the welder out and start screwing with this. So I've got to go back up to the house for the night. I'm getting summonsed, but this is how far I made it. I got the back here clearanced for it to fit in. I'm going to do a little bit more trimming work. There's like a flange that, you know, on this piece here, and that needs to clear, but it's looking good. And then underneath here, you can kind of see I got to finish clearancing that, and then that'll poke through. But I think our depth's going to be like dang near perfect. I'll have to figure out how I'm going to bolt this thing in here. I'll have to get the winch carrier and look at that. I'm hoping that'll, you know, slide in here real nice. I left this bigger, so it should, you know, slide in here, and I can just drill a different bolt hole, I don't know, back here somewhere, and then use a bolt, come up through with a bolt and a nut on top here. You don't have it thread in. So, and then I'll plate all this and tie it all together real good once I get that part figured out. But no, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy with it. These need trimmed a little bit too, I think. It bugs me to leave something like this. So I'll have to figure all that out. But it's definitely some tight packaging, but it's going to look nice, I think, when it's all finished. And then, like I said, the way that's sitting, I'm going to plate back here a section that comes off of that too, so it's all sort of tied together. So this will come up and here on this side and have a plate section And then there'll be a bar that comes up to hold our lights, off-road lights. But I'll wait to do that until I get the winch set in there. And I know how high to make that. So I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. Not even gonna clean up because we'll be back down here making a mess. I don't know, probably Wednesday. The thing that sucks is I had a busy week and yeah. I had a busy week and I don't know when I'm gonna get down here next to work on this thing. But you guys won't notice that. And the bearings are coming in, I think, Tuesday. So if I can shoot down here Tuesday and get them in, that would be cool. Throw that in, finish that diff up, and then slap all this back together. At least then I can move it again, even without the bumper on the front. So, I don't know. I mean, kind of is what it is. I'll grab my jacket over here. So, I'll keep filming. What's going on? Gonna be honest, I didn't feel like filming yesterday, so I just didn't. But I was down here working. I got this cross member notched for the drive shaft. Hopefully I did it in the right place. I made some pretty terrible marks on it. So, but it's notched and painted. I'm gonna put that on. I'm working on the alignment here. So you can see my specs of what I was doing yesterday. So factory specs 4.2 degrees of caster. I'm gonna adjust that to 5.5 because of the lift. I like a little bit more caster. Helps return the wheel to center. What I started with, left 3.7, right 4.8. I'll show you here in a second, but I did one full turn. No, I'm sorry, 2 turns on the 3.7 got me to 6.8. And then we're going to ignore this because we're going to actually leave that where it is. I'll explain this in a second. So now I'm going to pull the right side apart and do 1 turn on the rod end. And that should bring me up into the 6s, close to this. And then I'll show you, but we're going to fine tune with the upper control arms. So basically what that means is underneath of here, when I come down under here, what we've got, lower control arm. I spun this rod end 2 times, and that stuffed the, the front, bottom, whatever. Gave me a whole bunch of caster, almost 3 degrees. This upper arm, I can twist to adjust it in. That's going to push the top that way, and that's going to take away some of the caster. So basically, I'm going to make my big movements with these bottom bars. So I got to move that one. We'll go 1 full turn, and then we'll fine tune with these bars, which I like that setup, being fully adjustable, really nice. So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of what we're going to do. So this side's pretty much ready for the fine tuning adjustments. So I'm going to do that side, get that one ready, and then we'll throw the gry line on here and sort of fine tune everything once we know what we have. So, which is going to make filming hard. So I'm probably not going to pick up till I have everything fine tuned. So we'll see how many adjustments I have to do this. And I'm going to keep track on that board. So then once that's done, I got some fender liner clips to put in. I got a heat shield that goes somewhere under here. I got to figure out where that goes. And then I can get that heat shield in. And then I just want to run over everything, make sure everything's good. And then we're going to take it for an actual drive on the street, I think, and see how she does. So let's get started on the alignment. I just took this thing for a test drive, and overall, it rides nice. Still don't think the toe is right. Actually, I know the toe can't be right. It feels, I don't know, darty is the best way I could describe it. Overall unbalanced. So I think it's too much toe out, if I had to guess, by how it's driving. But I also am going to run a caster sweep again just to make sure that the caster's right. I mean, if I'm looking at it sitting here in the bay, I just feel like the toe appears to be pointing out. So, but I didn't really check that with the Grya line, with the rims and tires and everything on. So I'm going to throw it here on our pads, on my little dollies, and I'm going to take it back up, hit it on the Grya line one more time, run my full caster sweep here, and then see what we come out with on a full sweep on this. And if I'm close to my 5.5, which I think I'm going to actually be over on that now, because I actually went 3 turns. So I'm probably going to be closer to 6 something if it's going to math out correctly. But I'll put that down here, and then I'll run my toe sweep. If I'm at 6, I'm just going to run with it, because I really didn't think the caster felt terrible. It feels like the toe's off. I'm going to run my toe sweep, get a baseline on my toe on this one, and then go from there. If the toe is off, we'll adjust it, try to test drive again. I think that's what's going on. Also, I don't have a steering damper on here yet. I'm not too familiar with Jeeps. Like other vehicles with steering dampers, like you don't have to run them, like, and they don't feel horrendous. Like they can just kind of wear out and they just don't feel, you know, maybe a little suboptimal. So, and I wouldn't say this thing feels horrendous by any means. It just does not feel wonderful. That's how I would describe it. And I was going for wonderful with all the money I've spent on the suspension. Ride's nice. Rock crawler springs, super soft. I mean, haven't done anything crazy with them yet, but super soft for what we just did with it. So happy with that. So yeah, let's run the front up on some pads here and check this alignment again. Just got back from driving it. It still feels darty, which I ran my numbers, and now I'm at too much caster. 5.53, 5.58 on the right. So I got to my number, but I Googled it, and Jeeps, unlike my Dodge, don't like a ton of caster. They feel darty, which is what I've got. And I think the biggest difference, which I didn't really think about till I was test driving it this last time, is my Dodge is leveled. So the weight, I don't know, is more even, but when you're towing a trailer, it's pulling the weight off the front. So I don't think you're noticing them as much caster when you're towing. Whereas with this, you probably are. And it's probably making it feel darty because it's pointed down. I don't have it level. So I think what I'm going to do is take the uppers. I wrote me a little note for tomorrow morning. I'll finish this video with that. I'm not going to edit it into multiple videos, but I'm going to take this down a degree on either side to about 4.5 on both sides. Toe, I'm perfect. I'm at basically 0 or 0.1, so I'm well within my toe spec. So I think that's what's going on. I did also notice, it kind of sucks, the steering box right there from the Pitman arm attachment has play. You can watch the shaft. Not much at all, but you can watch just a little bit of play there. So I think that's probably you're gonna feel that. So it's probably gonna need a steering box. It's not leaking fluid or anything, but it's probably gonna need a steering box. So it is what it is. I got an inspection on this thing. We're gonna drop it off for tomorrow night after we get done playing with that alignment a little bit. We're gonna drive it in, drop it off, get inspected. Hopefully everything passes. I do gotta put wipers on it tonight yet too. So pull these out to remind me here to do some wiper blades, some whipplers. So inspection, then it'll be good to drive. Steering stabilizer, I ordered that a while ago. Actually, I had to check. I was pretty sure I did. So I have to see where that's at. I think it was a Fox. For whatever reason, I think that was on back order when I ordered the other stuff for it. But anyways, that gets here. I'll get that on. I am going to put the transmission, transfer case, whatever, skid plate in here that we've got on here. We'll get that put in. And, yeah, I don't know. Let's just keep kind of letting her rip, right? I'm also debating why I had to notch this. Because I'm looking here, and I'm wondering halfway if I had this thing on. I couldn't have had it on backwards. But why did they notch this side so nice? You know? It's like they built this thing backwards. Like, look at that. That's a nice notch for your drive shaft. But there's no drive shaft on this side. I gotta look at this thing when it's in there, because that makes no sense, you know? Unless it's for the exhaust there. It is where that exhaust kind of comes down. I don't know. Now we have 2 uniform notches to make it work. It's weird. Odd. Anyways, we get that thing thrown in here, so that's done. And tomorrow, as soon as I get off work, adjust that caster, do a sweep on it, see if that's better, and take it in to get it inspected. And that's probably, my wife's going to detail it on Saturday after my daughter's soccer game, but we'll probably take it to soccer Saturday if I get it inspected, because we've all been waiting to drive the thing. And I'm going to get the car trailer in here then, start working on fixing the axles on that thing. So, I don't know, keep following, guys. Like, subscribe, follow along. Well, I'm putting some miles on the Jeep here. Got to get it inspected. And because I put the motor in, obviously, it reset all the emissions parameters. So we put about 150 miles on it so far. And, it's been a learning experience. I put a fully adjustable suspension on this thing. So there's obviously a lot of parameters to check and change. And I used the Gryline tool for the first time. I think for the most part it does good. I will say I'm a little disappointed with the way it calculated the tow, or maybe I was backwards on it, so I won't knock it terribly on that. Is it worth the money? Yes. Should you get one if you do some work out of your shop and you do a lot of alignments or play suspension parts, or you have race cars, or you have any need to do your own alignments? Yes, it's probably worth it. Am I 100% satisfied with it? No. Is it potentially misuse by me? Yes. So we'll just move on from that and assume maybe I used it wrong. I did use my toe plates, though, that I have from Rough Country, and they worked phenomenally for setting the toe to an 1/8 inch in, which I believe is positive toe. But if I'm backwards on that, then it's not Gryline's fault. It was mine. So that really made the alignment, though, drive much better. It's still got a little bit of a weird wander to it, which I'm thinking could be the steering box. There appeared to be a slight amount of play in the pitman arm. These things are known for that. It's not terrible. You can't shake it in the suspension, so it's just shaft play. That's not a huge deal. I'll just get a new box for it and put a new box on. But there's also this weird, I'm going to use the term undulating, that it does around certain corners. And I'm pretty sure what that boils down to is I have my pitman arms adjusted wrong. My fault. When I put them on, I set them up on the lift and then realized I was shoving the axles over too far, and then adjusted them on the lift, where in reality I should have done it at ride height, and I didn't really think about it at the time. It's been a while since I've adjusted pitman arms. Most of the time they're just factory pitman arms that are set to a certain length, and you're just putting them on. So, my fault. Going home now, I gotta fix a little bit of a leak in the muffler, and then I'm gonna adjust the pitman arms and then see how it drives. I'm also gonna check to make sure my axles are straight, because in hindsight, I sort of eyeballed it when I did it by turning the rod ends as I was putting them on, but that's not the best way to do that. I really should have measured everything, and I didn't do that. So I'm going to measure everything when I get home too, just to make sure my axles are straight. Because it's possible, it doesn't feel like it's walking dog leg down the road, but it's possible I'm off a little bit on that. And that can cause some weird drivability issues. So I'm going to go home, I'm going to fix those 2 things, and then I'm going to fix the muffler up. And that should hopefully get me good. I'm going to get it inspected tomorrow, and then we're going to put some more miles on it, trying to get it ready for Ohio.